In this video, I attempt to beat Undertale with nothing. This means no armor, no weapons, and no healing. Nothing. And as you'll see later in the run, it won't be easy. In this run, I also won't be using save states to just keep healing over and over, because that's really boring. This run is also a true pacifist run, meaning it won't end when we beat Asgore the first time, but the run will end after we reset and escape the underground. But I'll stop yapping now, because it's time to fall down. The run started by talking to Flowey and meeting Toriel. Then she taught us how to defend against the monsters and led us through the ruins. After Toriel left, I continued through the ruins, completing the puzzles on the way and talking to Napstablook about his dapper hat. Once at Toriel's house, I went to sleep, got the pie, and easily left the ruins, walking my way further into the game and getting closer towards the challenges ahead. Now in Snowdin, I met Sans, who told me to hide behind a conveniently shaped lamp, and his brother Papyrus, whose traps across Snowdin were amazing. The two dog lovers were as easy to pass as ever, and I quickly found myself in Snowdin town. Now Papyrus is the first real boss of the run. Going into this fight, I had surprisingly low expectations, but he did actually put up a decent fight, dealing 4 damage per hit and taking me 3 tries to beat, taking 10 minutes in total. After the fight with Papyrus, I went on a date with him, then I went to Grillby's with Sans, and shortly after found myself in Waterfall. Once I had met Undyne and the Monster Kid, I found and spared both Aaron and Chiron before completing more puzzles and getting jumped by Undyne. Twice. Now in the dump, I was confronted by a dummy, and he was mad at me for spooking his cousin right out of his dummy. It turns out though, he wasn't very angry because he only took 1 try. Following Napstablook saving us, we played some spooky tunes which caused Aaron to get scared and float away. So stupid. Moving on, I made my way into the Temmie village, but for no reason other than I just felt like it. But after another short trip and a close call, we were finally faced with Undyne, standing majestically on the underground mountain. Now, because it had been a while since I played Undertale, I struggled to remember Undyne's attack patterns, especially on the attacks with the yellow spears. This caused her to be the first proper hindrance to our progress in the run. Undyne also dealt 5 damage per hit, meaning Max could only survive 4 hits before game over. In the end, Undyne took me 6 attempts and took me 20 minutes to defeat. Swiftly after her defeat, however, we went to her house and attempted to cook some spaghetti. Keyword, attempted. After committing arson, we found ourselves in Alphys's lab, where we were forced to compete in a game show where the punishment for losing is death, and the prize, not death. Wow. After answering all the questions correctly and exposing Alphys's crush, she upgraded the piece of crap flip phone that Toriel gave us. After getting Alphys's Instagram, she guided us through the hotlands, telling us where to go and deactivating lasers for us to create us a safe passage. Shortly after this though, we were faced with an intense cooking show. It was so intense we had to use some of the new features on our phone. After helping the guards find love, we had to deal with even more of Metaton's TV shenanigans, defusing increasingly ridiculous bombs. Once completed, we were finally allowed to leave, however our freedom didn't last long. Trapped in a spiderweb, we were confronted by Muffet. Muffet's attacks weren't too hard, but enduring the long fight without healing was tough, especially when she can kill you in only 4 hits. The attacks with Muffet's pet were the most difficult to avoid, however after 7 attempts and 25 minutes, Muffet was defeated. With Muffet defeated, we dealt with Metaton's last shenanigan, then we chatted with Sans and headed straight through the Metaton resort and to the core. The core is where this run spikes in difficulty. The enemies here are strong and deal tons of damage, but the real spike is at this bridge, where you need to cross to the other side to press a button. But when crossing this bridge, you're ambushed by 3 sets of strong enemies. Normally, this would be really difficult to pass. Now you would think I would just save after every encounter. However, with the rules I briefly mentioned at the beginning, I wouldn't be abusing save states. This is what this means. In simple terms, throughout the entirety of this run, I've only been using each save point once. So to make crossing this bridge a lot easier, I passed the save point, narrowly defeated the first 2 enemies, saved, then defeated the last encounter. After the button was pressed, we can now make it to Metaton. In my opinion, Metaton is one of the most fun and easiest bosses in Undertale. It might even be my favourite boss fight. I love everything about this fight, and the music is mwah, so good. Metaton deals 7 damage per hit, however him being a pretty easy boss, it only took me 2 attempts to defeat him, and a total of 8 minutes of my time. After Metaton was spared, we made it through the lore dump and made it to the Judgment Hall, where Sans was waiting. He told us about the meaning of love and XP, and let us continue on our way to the point in the run where everything started to go wrong. Now, finally faced with Asgore in the throne room, the severity of the fight ahead started to sink in. I knew Asgore would be the hardest boss of the run, however I didn't predict actually how hard this would be. To beat Asgore, you actually have to attack him, even in the true pacifist ending. And because I don't have a weapon, I can only deal on average about 90 damage to Asgore per hit. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem. However, Asgore has 3,500 HP. This means that it would take 39 turns to kill him. Actually a little less than that because your attack starts to deal a bit more damage at the end of the fight, but whatever, it still takes like 35 turns. Now you may be thinking, oh, that's a lot of turns, but it's doable. You're forgetting one crucial detail. I can't heal. So to beat Asgore, I must survive 35 turns in a row without healing and with no armor, meaning he kills us in 4 hits. Naturally, this took a long time. It took lots of grinding and willpower to keep going, because after a while you start to get bored of seeing the same things, no matter how epic they are. To cure the boredom, I started to come up with creative ways to count the passing turns.
SpongeBob. Patrick. Squidward. Mr. Krabs.
Eventually, I looked to YouTube for some help on avoiding some of Asgore's attacks. So I looked at a no-hit fight and found an interesting feature that I had been completely overlooking up until this point. I realised that in the video, to start the fight, the person talks to Asgore 3 times. This in turn lowers his defense, causing our average damage to go up to about 115 damage. This was a very good way to shorten the fight down by a few turns. And then, a few hours later,
Oh my god. Oh my god. Fucking hell.
it was finally over. The hardest boss was finally defeated. Asgore dealt 8 damage per hit, 7 after talking to him 3 times, and took me, drumroll please, 135 attempts and 5 hours and 42 minutes. Yes, I counted. Now that Asgore had finally been defeated, we got Sans' phone call. I would never. After the fight with Flowey, we reset and made our way down to Snowdin to collect the very important letter from Undyne. We give the letter to Alphys and then go on the date with her. After the slightly awkward date, we enter Alphys' lab and descend the perfectly normal elevator into the true lab. Once in the true lab, we adopt a strategy of avoiding save points until it's absolutely necessary to use them. We do this because the amalgamates are pretty beefy and deal a lot of damage. However, after dying a few times and finding all the keys, we unlock the door. And after being helped by Alphys, escaping the lab was easy. Once out of the lab, we made our way back to Asgore's throne room for another battle. As we lined up to face Asgore again, we were saved by all of our friends who broke up the fight. Thank God. However, I did say there was a battle, and a battle there was. Flowey appeared and once again absorbed all the human souls. However, this time, he also absorbed all the monster souls too. This caused him to turn into Azrael Dreamer, the final boss of the run. Azrael's fight is even more epic than Asgore's, however, it's infinitely easier since when you die, you respawn instead of having to restart. But after surviving Azrael's Hypergoner attack, we reached into the darkness to save our friends, and finally, saved Azrael. After Azrael was saved, we slowly walked through the barrier and to the surface, and the run, with nothing, was completed. Thank you all so much for watching this far in the video. It took a while to make, mainly due to laziness during editing, and my life being quite busy right now. However, I hope you still enjoyed it. If you want to help the channel, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and leave any more challenge runs or just games I should play in the comments. They don't have to be Undertale like challenges, but they do have to be on console because I don't have a PC because I'm broke. Thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next video.